Now, Chris touched upon this, so we're going to go to this subject. Ted Kanialakis of Camden has submitted a question for all four. Chris, this does start with you.
Did Ed get a chance to answer
Ed
the
did
last
start the last one.
Oh, okay.
Again, you may wish to, you did speak on this a little bit, so you may wish to defer the balance of your time, but for all four, how do you feel about same-sex marriage and why? And we'll start with Chris.
Well, I supported the marriage equality bill when it came before the legislature before, so my position is known. But I believe appropriately that it is being sent to the public to the citizens of Maine will have the chance to weigh in on that, and I think that's appropriate. Fundamentally, I think this is about families and community. And I think inasmuch as we have strong families and strong communities, that we have a nurturing environment for people that they feel accepted and welcomed, that builds strong communities. That's a way that we distinguish ourselves from other places. And I think it's one of the things that Maine is rather proud of. Maine is proud of its acceptance of folks from away, folks like myself who moved here 40-plus years ago. I feel like this is home. This is my community. This is where I belong. My friends and neighbors are part of the fabric of what makes us strong. And so I think the marriage equality bill, it's up to the people, but I'm proud of having supported that and doing my best to reflect both my personal values and those of the area.
Thank you. Carol.
I am in for the referendum that's going out to the voters, and I have no problem with same-sex marriage.
Thanks. Joan.
I think, Chris, you did a beautiful job explaining why I support same-sex marriage. I have many dear friends who have been life partners with someone of the same sex, and they have beautiful families and they care about each other and they're contributing members to our society, and I believe they have every right to have all the rights that everyone has. One thing that I really like about this bill is that it allows every religion, every church to follow their own belief. It doesn't require anyone to do anything that is against their values or against their belief system, and I think that's important.
Thank you. Ed.
Thank you. Coming from an era when it was probably frowned upon quite heavily, it was tough. I had a little hard time with it initially, but then I did a lot of talking with people. A lot of people came up and spoke to me, and they opened my eyes to what they wanted. And I said to myself, I'm not the person, and I'm not going to be the person to say who a person should either love or not love, or should either marry or not marry. That's not my position. That's not my place in society to do that. And if two people are in love with each other, that's their right to enjoy the privilege of marriage. And I support that right 100%. So I am fully supportive of it. I think I talk to younger people, they don't even bat an eye right now. And the older people, they look at me still a little askance, but it's a generational thing. I think as you go down in age, the acceptance is much, much quicker and much broader. Some older people still have some problems with that, but I have no problems with it. I think it's good.
A question from the floor, perhaps. Do you have a question? At the back of the room, yes. State your name and where you're from, and bellow a little bit, and I'll try and reiterate your question for you.
My name is Jean Forrest, and I live here in Rockport. There's a lot of talk about growing small businesses and increasing employment. I'd like each of you to tell all of us, really specific ways, I mean really specific ways, you would grow small businesses and increase employment. Not just the rhetoric, but the real stuff.
Okay, for our folks at home, that was Jean Forrest of Rockport, and she asked the candidates to identify specific ways in which they'll grow small business and encourage the growth of small business and increase employment. And we are starting this question with Carol.
Okay. I feel that the last session of the legislature made some steps towards growing small businesses and helping them. I have the Mary report here. It's the Maine Economic Research Institute report, and it highlights the bills that are in favor of small businesses. So I don't have time to go through them, but there's some great information in that and very specific. In addition, insurance, health insurance is debilitating for small businesses. So what else happened in the legislature is that in 2014, businesses are going to be able to shop for their health insurance across state lines. Competition, and hopefully will drive down the rates. In growing small businesses, we also need to grow the economy, because the only way a business can grow is if there is demand for that business's services. So how do you do that? It's which comes first, the chicken or the egg? So we work to encourage economic growth in Maine. We get people back to work so that they're spending, so that they're creating demand on small businesses. How do we get people back to work? We create a pipeline for workforce development. And there are jobs out there. I've talked to many businesses in the area that are having a hard time hiring folks because there's a disconnect between the skill set and what the jobs require. I hope that answered your question, Jean.
Great. Joan.
Small businesses. This is the work of our community, and that's what the engine is for our community. And Brian Hodges, our wonderful economic development person in Camden, has started doing cash mobs a couple of times he's done it. And it means you bring $20 in and you find out what a business, and you all go and spend $20 in a particular business. He told us that for every dollar we spend locally in our local shops, 63 to perhaps 67% of that dollar goes back into our local economy, where if we go to big box stores, it's more like 43% goes into our economy. So I would say, Jean, specifically, we must buy local. How many of you have you seen Betting the Farm? Have any of you? I went to see it last night, and it's a beautiful story about Aroostook County and Washington County dairy farmers trying to figure out a way to keep their dairy farms and grow their business, where we've lost 700 farms in the state over the last few years. It's a great story about public-private partnership where the government helps and also there are private investors who help our businesses. We heard last week at a chamber event about a lobster processing business down in Tennant's Harbor that has gotten a lot of help from FAME and different tax write-offs and different lenders, and which have been a public-private partnership. So I think small businesses need us to be spending our money here and also looking at the opportunities that the state has to be helping grow businesses. There's more, lots more I could say.
Ed.
That's a complex question because it's one that seems to be perennial, how to help small businesses. One of the things we can do is take a look at what regulations businesses have to operate under and do some regulation reform. Find the ones that are antiquated, the ones are hindering business, but not at the expense of protecting society from abuses. Secondly, we have to, I think, urge people to buy locally. That's one of the things that we have to do, to urge people to spend their money on local goods in local areas. Lastly, it's an educational process. I think we have to teach people to know what's in their towns, know what's available to them, and try to work within their local communities to keep businesses local.
Great. Chris.
This is the question. I mean, this is the ultimate question for the area. Several things that I worked on that have come through my committee: Pine Tree Zone benefits that help our manufacturing businesses receive tax reductions while they are building their manufacturing facilities, while they're hiring their employees. They have to meet certain standards, but it provides a terrific opportunity. CHAG that Joan just referenced, I helped them back since last fall, talking to them about how to get their operation up and running down in Long Cove in St. George, so that they could be a lobster processor here and help support the lobster market. At the same time, they've got 35 employees right now that they've brought in, and they benefited from those Pine Tree Zone benefits, also from Finance Authority of Maine, which my committee oversees. Community Sustainable Fisheries that is going on down in Port Clyde. We worked with those folks to get them a working waterfront grant to make sure that they had money to maintain the facility that they had and serve as an outlet for the largest fishing fleet north of Portland, which is down in Port Clyde. Extraordinarily important. Lots of families making a good living in the fishing industry. Lyman Morse, I worked with Lyman Morse to get them a grant from Maine Technology Institute, a seed grant that they could do research so they could develop energy cubes, a cube that is able to be delivered in the back of a pickup truck that has solar energy in it, solar energy panels. They unfold, they can provide enough energy to run a home or a small business in an emergency environment, or they can be used they're also sold through the Department of Defense, so they can set up in remote locations like in Afghanistan and elsewhere to provide energy sources. Those are just a handful of the things that we've done. Also, at the University of Maine, we're now doing entrepreneurship and innovation as one of the key minors that you can get in any topic. I think it's the way we're going to grow our economy.